Child.
Hey babe, it's Friday. How you doing?
I'm fried.
You're fried.
On Friday.
Yeah, so happy Friday everybody. Another day in the cannabis bloodbath, and looks like we might be bouncing along a bottom. Not so much?
Ever so tenuously. Gingerly.
Yeah. Okay, well...
Big reversal in gold today.
Big reversal.
Yeah, it was up $21.
To...
on the first chart. Hey, quiet in there. We're doing a show.
Yeah, what's the matter with you guys?
We got to 1321, and we went back all the way back to 1304. So we were
1321?
1521, sorry. 1521.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, wow,
well,
price really got knocked back.
Oh, so I am human after all. 1521 to 1504. In other words, there's a pretty big gap there that it filled in, and if it can hold this 1500 again, I think we're off and running. Although interest rates, the 10-year bond, we keep talking about it, got over 1.81 today.
1.81.
And I know it sounds like a small number, but every tick just costs everybody so much more in debt repayment, interest.
Collectively.
We don't want to go there.
Who doesn't? Debt repayment?
Whee!
Anyway, so yeah, looking at the charts here, it is definitely a down day in the cannabis space. Yeah. Red, 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 and red. Large cap is down 0.42% to 66.80. That's 28.2 points down. Midas Letter small cap is down 0.23%. Venture index down 0.42%, and the CSE index is down 2.71%. And again, it looks like the U.S. names are leading everything lower. Right. We shall confirm that with a quick look here and a load up of the. All right, so yeah, Curaleaf is down $1.25, or rather 9 cents. Let's see, MedMen down 4.94. Boy, sounds like their financials are going to be quite ugly.
Hey, Hexo is almost 3. I think it's around 310, 312. Is that
right? Hexo, let's see. Hexo is on the large cap list. Let's go look over there.
There won't be a large cap index after a while, will there?
Well,
what if they all What if you had an index at 0? Well, there's nothing in it.
Well, that would be, yeah, that would indicate that every single penny has left the market if the index went to 0. That, I think, would be nearly impossible.
No, that's not going to happen, but the big index could end up with no...
Hexo's at 308 at this point.
There you go. There you go. What's that telling you?
Down 7%.
Hey, maybe those bonds are now out of the money. They were in the money when they priced it, remember?
Well, you know, we're going to have David Kadikel on the show on Monday. He's the head of research, or he's the research analyst.
Met him.
Oh, you know him.
Yeah,
he's the research analyst for Corp.
Yeah.
For cannabis, and he actually covers Hexo, and he's cut his target expectation, but he's still got an outperform on it, even though he's reduced the target. But I'm
a little
flummoxed by that.
A little flummoxed. Nice jacket.
Thank you. Never seen this before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just about every day this week.
It's a Friday jacket. Summer in my mind all the time.
Summer in your mind all the time?
Hot down, summer in the city. Back of my neck getting
dirty and gritty.
You know that song. Anyways, so yeah, Aurora Cannabis is up 1.3%, 37 cents to 28.71. So everything's down, but not really drastically.
Grinding lower.
Well, you know, you look at this chart here.
Would you say slim pickings?
And it's it's kind of bumping along a bottom here.
It's still range bound.
Well, I don't know. I think you could draw an arrow like across there from lower to higher. Look at.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
There is, without any doubt, an uptrend happening.
Really?
Yeah.
Where do you-
What?
What?
Right here.
It's going sideways at best.
Well, no, I'm talking about the last 3 days.
Oh,
Hey, Ed.
it's all about frame of reference.
You know, anybody can see a trend that's been going on for a year, but who can pick one out after 3 days? Right here, buddy. Right here. You want to make some money? This is how it's done. No, just kidding.
Okay. So Tesla, big action yesterday. That surprised a lot of people, but
Yeah.
my trader friend told me he was long.
Is that right, eh?
He said he had a little bit of stock and made a little bit of money.
Nice. And did you weren't long.
No.
You
Why
weren't
would
short.
I don't want to make.
Did you go short?
No.
No?
No, I'm not. You know,
Tesla, 321.71.
another $20 today or $25.
28.03 up.
Oh, the shorts are just.
The shorts are getting their asses handed to them. You know what? It's really funny because Elon Musk hates nothing more than a short strategist. He hates the shorts. And, here he is.
I know.
You know, he really squeaked through with that market manipulation that he basically said that he had a deal to take the company private at 400.
Yeah, it's surprising
share.
they didn't throw him in the slammer and throw away the key.
You know,
but
there's two standards of justice in the world, Ed. He's in the upper standard. You and I, we're in the lower standard.
is that because of his checkbook?
Checkbook. Probably because of his shareholders too. I imagine there are a lot of shareholders in Tesla who probably wouldn't want Elon Musk to go to jail.
Yeah, because
for
you know
stock
what? Yeah,
manipulation.
they're probably in Congress
Probably. Exactly.
because they're all.
Yeah, not that we're saying politicians are larcenists, thieving, lying, conniving, or any of those things.
No, they're
Altruistic.
they're normal people,
They're godly. One might say they're godly. Wouldn't you say that?
saintly.
Saintly. Saint Trudeau. How does that sound?
You know what?
Saint Elizabeth. Saint.
Do you
Santa
think
Maria.
that you know how they do the canonization in the Catholic Church,
What
right?
does that mean?
I think that's when you
Blast you out of a cannon?
no they
into a net?
they make you a saint.
Really? They canonize you. Is that when you get blasted out of a cannon into a net?
I bet you there's a short list up there right now in Rome, and I'd say Trudeau's on the list, Trump's on the list, Elon Musk's on the list.
Of future saints? Wow.
What do you
I wonder
think?
if there's anybody making book on that. I would like to place a bet on the chances of Elon Musk being made a saint. Anyways,
Roger
cannabis.
Moore. Roger Moore's on the list. Remember Roger Moore? He used to play the saint.
Yeah, I do actually. Roger Moore. He was my favorite James Bond, and then
The new
who's
guy.
the new guy.
Yeah, he's
He's a good James.
the
Bond.
best.
Yeah.
He makes them all look.
Do you think he's even better than Sean Connery?
So what do you think? Let's say you're going to do the next James Bond movie, and you're Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig.
So what do you think? Let's pick a number here. How much are you going to pay me to do this? Because he's obviously looks like he's the one that's the best one. And we were talking about this one day, and I thought, let's look it up. What do you think he's going to get to do the next movie? And he's doing it right now.
50 million.
Low.
100 million.
I think that's low too.
Really?
I think it's like 250, 300. No, it's not 25.
25.
What?
Okay.
Well, that
you-
doesn't make me excited. Really?
Oh.
Really?
25 million. That's not much.
Shit. I take
Yeah.
it back.
I thought he was a rich
I thought
guy.
he was making 100 million, 100 billion, or whatever.
Boy, oh boy.
A trillion. He got $1 trillion.
I'm gonna have to request science on this stuff.
Okay.
So, okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go to IMDb Pro, and that's gonna tell me what IMDb Pro thinks he's making. Not gonna say this is what he's getting, but everybody thinks he's
Okay.
getting something. Let's see. Log in with Amazon. Am I still a
Yeah,
member of this
I'm
thing?
pretty sure you know, I know the voice of God was saying 25 million, but I think it's more like about 250 million.
Really?
That's what I think.
250 million.
Yeah, like they don't screw around anymore.
Huh. That's a big number.
You want to pull the guy out of retirement?
Oh boy.
How much?
It doesn't say. It's asking me, putting me through all this password rigmarole.
Rigmarole.
Yeah. Like, thanks, Amazon, for preventing me from breaking into my own account. You are so diligent. You know how people like to use metaphors to illustrate certain points, and how
Sure.
the human capacity for confusing metaphors results in a mixed metaphor?
Yes.
Like leaving the fox watching the
Hen.
turtles. Anyways, that's probably not a good example. Finished registration, it says. What the hell? What? Start free trial. Oh, that was the wrong address, I guess. Boy, we're going to have to. All right, I tell you what.
We got something coming up, don't we?
Well, Michael Rosetta is here from Trichome Financial Corp, and here's that conversation. Michael Rosetta joins me now. He's the CEO of Trichome Financial Corp. Michael, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. Michael, quick overview. What does Trichome Financial Corp do?
Sure. Trichome Financial is a specialty finance company focused on the cannabis sector. We provide tailored credit solutions to the industry, really addressing a lack of credit that we've seen, seeing it play out in real time today.
Based in Canada or the U.S.?
We're based in Canada,
Okay.
right here in Toronto. We're currently lending to Canadian companies and global companies, and we expect to be lending into the U.S. probably by year end.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Probably a good example of a transaction is your recent $4 million loan to James E. Wagner.
Correct.
So I guess the benefit of a debt facility in this market is when things go soft and people can't access equity capital, there's a debt option.
Sure. And you know, look, there's we've been involved with James Wagner now since February. Mm-hmm. So this is an additional draw. And you know, the nice thing about our business is that we like to grow with the companies that we finance.
Right.
And so you're right, the equity markets are challenging, and you know, they're a more mature sort of business relative to many others. So as a lender, we can actually look at it and evaluate it from a lender's perspective. Okay. And you know, we do a very extensive due diligence process and understanding their financial needs. And oftentimes equity markets are sort of focused on near-term headlines and noise and things like that. We try and sort of see through that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so is the, for example, let's talk about the $4 million loan to James E. Wagner. Mm-hmm. What was the interest rate, the coupon for that?
So the coupon on that is 9.25%.
Mm-hmm. And is it secured?
It is secured.
Is it convertible?
It is not convertible. We don't typically do convertible loans.
Okay.
We don't like that structure. We're not a hedge fund.
Right.
So we don't take short positions against our loans. You know, we will have equity warrant coverage as we do in this transaction, but we're not looking to short a stock and protect ourselves. You know, we do an extensive amount of work, and we're taking a fundamental view.
Mm-hmm. Okay, 9 is within the realm of comfort, I would think, for most companies. Some lenders we've seen opportunistically sort of entering the space mm-hmm. and extending high interest mm-hmm. loans that are, you know, covered a exponential amount greater than the face value of the loan. So you're not that type of opportunistic lender, is what I'm understanding.
No, I mean, look, we have a cost of capital, and we price things fairly in the context of the market. Mm-hmm. You know, we would much rather see companies do well, and therefore we'll do well with them. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we can, you know, reasonable people can debate what's expensive and what's not expensive, and that's fine. But we don't want to be viewed as anyone that's trying to take advantage of these companies.
Okay, not a loan-to-own operation.
Absolutely not.
Okay,
no,
great.
No.
What is the typical size of the loan that you prefer to extend?
So right now, the opportunities we've been reviewing are sort of in the $5 to $20 million range. As our business grows and we have more capital, we'll be able to do larger transactions. We have an extensive group of syndicate partners that we can reach out to. And if there's a transaction that is above our comfort level, size-wise, we can go out and syndicate our transactions. So that's part of being in the business, much like what banks typically do is they syndicate their risk.
Mm-hmm. So is the ecosystem place that you prefer to lend to focused on licensed producers only, or do you extend out to picks and shovels, media, et cetera?
Yeah, absolutely. Across the value chain. So we had a very successful loan to a Ontario retail lottery winner back in March. Ganjica House in Brampton has done very, very well. We provided inventory financing so he could put product on the shelves, as well as enabled him to fit out his store. The store has done extremely well. He's actually repaid our entire loan, and we have a warrant to acquire 10% of that store for the next 4.5 years. Mm-hmm. So we've looked at technology companies, we've looked at processors, hemp producers across the value chain.
Mm-hmm. And what is the size of the loan book now in total?
So today we have outstanding loans and commitments of about $11.5 million. We have signed term sheets for another, call it $10 million. Mm-hmm. And we're very busy right now. So
right.
Yeah, our work in process, the stuff that's not signed, but it's probably close to getting signed,
sure, is
multiples of that.
Okay, and so is your target rate of return something that you're open to discussing?
Look, we don't typically discuss it. Broadly speaking, every transaction brings its own unique challenges.
Sure.
We typically tell companies that we're looking to solve for a contractual rate of return, mm-hmm. Which is interest and fees and things like that in the low to mid-teens. And in many cases, there's additional warrant consideration. Sure. And so, that may juice it a little bit, may juice it a lot. There doesn't always have to be equity consideration. It just really depends on how we want to address the particular issue at hand.
So, but the target rate of return is roughly in the teens.
In the teens, yeah.
Okay, well that makes it an interesting value proposition for investors who want exposure to the space without the risk of actually picking one name.
Right.
Is that the sort of investor value proposition that you're projecting?
It is. So, I mean, the way I think about it from an investor standpoint is, we're exposed to the secular growth of this industry on a long-term basis. So we are a growth company first and foremost, but our business model is much more defensive. And so that's a pretty unique combination. So for some people, they may want exposure, but they don't, they've seen what's been happening, mm-hmm. and they don't want to really take big risks.
Right.
Or they want a more diversified portfolio of that risk, and considering we have secured loans, we're first in line in case anything happens. So, our goal is to provide our investors with attractive returns on equity, mm-hmm. that, quite frankly, most folks would love to have on a long-term basis.
Sure.
Plus, the other aspect of our business is, we're really a platform opportunity. And so we're in the process of launching a fund management business where we'll manage third-party capital for a fee. And so going forward, we'll be this hybrid business where we'll have our own capital that we'll be lending out, but then also earning fees on externally funds managed.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. So does the advent of a price war in cannabis, I'll use Canada as the example. In the States, it's 50 different countries. Sure. for all of that concern. But in Canada, we've had one LP, Hexo, step up and say, okay, we're coming out with this product that mm-hmm. matches the price point of black market product. I was actually spent the weekend reading reviews on their product, and mm-hmm. it's uniformly considered very good.
Right.
Does that sort of concern you at all as somebody who analyzes the revenue that companies generate and their ability to repay their loans?
100% it does. We, in any company, any LP that we look at, we're usually modeling significantly lower prices than the market is even contemplating. So our conservatism is already baked in. The other thing I'd say is on the LP side, we tend to focus on companies such as James Wagner or Goodbuds, which is a private company, that are sort of niche, small batch, and are doing a premium product. And so we think that's a much more defensible part of the market. If you are a scale producer, you have to be very efficient at doing it. And many of these companies, as we've seen, have, quite frankly, bloated cost structures.
Right.
So we prefer to look at the smaller batch premium producers as opposed to just a run-of-the-mill LP that's producing a run-of-the-mill product.
Right. Interesting and good approach. How does the landscape for lending to cannabis companies look to you from where you sit as a sort of specialty lender with the, you've got the BMOs and the CIBCs stepping in to that spot, and is that kind of like not a concern because they're doing a completely different scale of business, or are they somebody you might partner with?
Yeah, I mean, our business was never premised on competing with banks. We all know that's kind of a mug's game. But what we saw is, there's only so much the banks are prepared to do, both from a risk perspective as well as from an industry perspective. So we think that, as this industry unfolds over the next, 10 years, the credit market opportunity is in the tens and tens of billions of dollars, right? And what we've seen since the crisis in 2008 is non-bank lenders are a much, much larger share of the lending market. And that's really how we position ourselves. So we'd be happy to work with any of the banks. In fact, we do work with one in particular, where we work on transactions together. And so there's a role for us. We fit hand in glove,
right?
Because we can take a different risk profile than the banks can take.
Sure.
The other thing I'd say is we've heard that bank risk officers are becoming increasingly skittish, considering what's gone on in the market. And any pause in that lending, we see that, and our phone's been ringing a lot. It's like, oh, we were speaking to so-and-so.
Sure. I guess for me, pricing in the future of the various extracted and concentrates and derivative products from the cannabis itself becomes very challenging, considering the presence of the black market. I mean, the question really becomes how much price sensitivity does a black market have to continuity of operations over time relative to LPs who are reliant on equity capital and or debt capital?
Sure. Well, I mean, look, the black market's done a very good job over the last, hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they know a thing or two about surviving. And look, the issues driving the sector today, I mean, we expect that Ontario will liberalize its retail system in the near term, sometime in 2020. There has to be market access. If there's non-market access, then there's a problem. Right. And I think collectively, regulators and governments, regardless of political stripe, are recognizing it's here to stay. So we might as well make sure that it's working efficiently. And it hasn't been working efficiently to date, but it is what it is. It's 1 year in.
Yep, you bet. All right, Michael, that's a great introduction to the company. I look forward to following your progress. I look forward to recommending you to clients who I think would be worthy if you haven't already talked to them. But anyways, thanks very much for joining me.
Thanks very much.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Make sure you never miss a show by subscribing to our YouTube channel and clicking on the little notifications bell. If you're interested in getting monthly actionable investment ideas in the cannabis space to your inbox, subscribe to the newsletter at MidasLetter.com. All right, we're back, and my good friend and co-host Todd Shapiro is here. Todd of the famous Canada Talks Sirius XM 167 channel. If you haven't been there, you can check them out at thetoddshapiroShow.com. Todd, welcome.
Thank you again, James. Love being here.
Yeah, you bet. So you've taken on another challenging role.
Wearing a lot of hats.
Wearing a lot of hats. You're wearing a new hat, and this company that we're going to mention is not publicly traded, and so we're talking about it strictly in the context of a private company. So don't get all excited and don't go rushing out to see how you can invest, because you can't yet, unless you're an accredited investor, in which case you got to call me, not Todd. Me.
Get in touch with this guy.
No, just kidding. Anyway, so Todd, tell us about Red Light Holland.
So what I can say about Red Light Holland, because there's still some compliance, we're new. First Republic Capital is doing the raise, that I can say. It'll be a company that will have goals, obviously, to be traded publicly at some point down the road, and that's within the raise and the definition of the raise. It'll be based out of the Netherlands, though, and we're going to sort of leave it at that, based on how we predict we'll have sales and forecasting what we're going to do, because there is a bit of a angle here that I'm going to reserve right now for people to inquire about, and there's a reason for that, just because I don't want to share the idea with everybody. It's great because we found a unique, really positive revenue stream idea in this great management team that we've put together. And I kind of want people to, real serious investors, to reach out to go and inquire. And the reason being is we've already had a ton of serious investors doing so.
Right. Okay. So what is the category, the sector? Can you?
Yes, it's psilocybin.
Psilocybin. Okay.
Yes, that we can definitely say.
Yeah. Now everybody goes, oh, I see why he's being so circumspect. Isn't psilocybin a prohibited substance? Is it a prohibited substance?
I mean, listen. There's areas that it is prohibited, and there are areas that it's not prohibited.
Right.
And there's certain kinds where it can be found that
I believe
aren't.
in Canada, you're allowed to be. I mean, magic mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms, grow in the wild, all over the place. In fact, particularly in BC, where I happen to have consumed quite a fair number of them myself. And I think that in Canada, isn't it that you're allowed to be in possession of a psilocybin-bearing mushroom as long as it's fresh and not dried, preserved, or packaged?
So have heard this as well. With our council, we don't have an exact answer to this specifically within Canada, but I have definitely heard that in its wet form it's legal, and in its dry form, which sort of activates the psilocybin, that it is not. And again, one of the things I can tell you about me being the co-CEO of Red Light Holland is I'm not here to try and BS anybody in saying that I understand exactly how to grow this stuff. I'm not trying to fool anybody to say that I'm an experienced individual with EU GMP facilities or any of that kind of stuff. What I am is a great face to this brand, because I'm a brand whiz. I'm a marketing entrepreneur, and I'm also under the big belief as psilocybin and psychedelics as a whole, as an industry, I hope, in my opinion, rises together. And the reason being is, from what we've learned from it, and from the big advocates, and from the Kevin Matthews to the Paul Austins to a lot of different people within the industry who are doing it, whether they're doing it legally or illegally, they're showing a lot of great sort of case studies behind this stuff. And again, these aren't medical claims on any point, but we're learning, and we've talked about this on this show before, James, with depression and post-traumatic stress disorder and that reset button. And the research that I put into this is really, it's an egoless substance, meaning it's connecting people, it's living in the moment, and we're seeing so much depression, so much anxiety, so many synthetic drugs being prescribed, and quite frankly, recklessly being prescribed to feed the greed of big pharma and even doctors and things like this. And I think I've said it on the show, and whether it's my show or your show with you, I'm under the firm belief that the youth who are right now protesting against climate change at some point are going to come together and protest against big pharma with these synthetic drugs like opioids and the benzos now going around, because everyone at some point, and this is a terrible statistic, has had someone addicted to these drugs, who have taken their life because of these drugs, who have ruined their lives because of these drugs, and have been addicted. And this is an epidemic that I don't know why more people aren't talking about. And I think the youth, why I say this, is they're savvy to this stuff. And there's great social media causes that bring people together, and they're going to want people to really rally around the more natural things that are presented on this earth. And I think mushrooms being one of them, and the psilocybin aspect of being one of them as well.
Very exciting.
Sounds passionate, doesn't
Very
it?
exciting, yes. I guess it would be indelicate to inquire as to your personal consumption levels of psilocybin.
No, I mean, listen, I've shroomed in the past for sure. I have no problem in that. It's always
Shroomed. You made it a verb.
I've taken shrooms, and listen, I've always.
No, I like the verbification of it. Like, let's. What do you want to do tonight? Well, let's shroom. That's good.
Well, I've microdosed. I've tried. You've microdosed as well, right?
Well, I take multiple microdoses. I have very low during my psilocybin heyday. I had very low interest in low doses. I was always actually exploring what was the maximum potentially, and I did find out it's actually testimony to the safe nature of psilocybin. That hey, I'm doing this today after quite a long and storied career as a psychonaut of high commitment, let's just say.
Do you believe? Oh, you got to go. You got to take a break. No. Do you believe in the reset button?
I went before we sat down.
Okay. No. Not like this. He's going right now.
That's right. I got a bottle under here.
Do you believe in that reset feeling, in that living in the moment?
Well, as a matter of fact, so I've been on the wagon from alcohol and all intoxicants for 2 months actually, and last night I voluntarily stepped off of the wagon and got a little bit smashed, as it were. And my partner says to me, "Well, why? What caused this?" I said, "Sometimes you just got to hit the reset button." So
funny.
I understand exactly what you mean, and in fact, that is one of the signs that you can use to identify when you're committing too much of your time to recreational substance use, is if you're hitting the reset button every day, your life's a little bit out of control. You can't really make progress in your life if you hit the reset button every day. However, you also cannot maintain a good balance in mental health, I believe, if you don't hit the reset button sometimes.
That's a very interesting way of putting it. And I've been doing Sober October and completely sober of everything, and I'm 5 days away from excited to hit the reset button. But
countdown is on.
But with that being said, I'm under the firm belief with anything you do. I don't care if it's alcohol, I don't care if it's cannabis, I don't care if it's any of these drugs that are decriminalized in some areas or not. You better know everything to do with that drug. You better be extremely educated on that drug, or those, even alcohol, enough people aren't educated on. And also moderation is key, because you don't want people addicted. You don't want it destroying lives. You don't want it destroying your insides.
Right.
And there is a way to do it. And I'm still figuring out that way too with alcohol, quite candidly. And yet one thing I know is I don't miss it that much. I really don't, but I wouldn't mind a bit of a reset here and there.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's good to cut loose once in a while. We're going to have a conversation now with Bruce Campbell, who's joining us from StoneCastle Asset Management on the StoneCastle Weekly Cannabis Update. We're joined now by Bruce Campbell, StoneCastle Investment Management Portfolio Manager. Bruce, welcome back.
Yeah, it's good to be back for another week.
Yeah, another decidedly weak week in the cannabis space. What do you see happening out there that's driving prices? Well, I don't know. Have we found a bottom, or is it going to go lower?
Well, it certainly seems that some individual companies may have found bottoms here. I don't necessarily know if the sector's found a bottom yet, though. That's going to be the challenge here, and I think tax loss selling probably has a bit of a bearing on that. I know I've talked to several people who have said that they're in that process now, and I would imagine that kind of ramps up into November and December.
Yeah, you bet. Do you think that this is the point at which the great bifurcation happens among cannabis companies, where those with cash and revenue and a good sort of path to profitability separate from those who are burning too much cash, can't get more, and are not necessarily looking quite so attractive on the revenue front?
You haven't really seen that too much yet to speak of. I mean, it's been basically just over the cliff down. But I think that that's going to be a 2020 event for sure. I think that you'll start to really see investors become more discerning on who they invest in. So if companies have cash and they're moving towards profitability, because I think now investors are realizing especially with this downturn, like we can't count on these companies always coming back to the capital markets to be able to continue to fund their operation. At some point in time soon, they need to be able to generate cash flow, which will start to fund their operations as well. So I think in 2020, you're going to really see a divergence there. The guys that have spent the time and got their businesses streamlined enough so that they're close to cash flow positive or cash flow positive versus the companies that, they're still building and expanding and burning through a bunch of cash.
Yeah. StatsCan reported August numbers on Friday last week that were 104 million in July. That's July. That's not August.
Yeah.
But the numbers were
127 million.
127
million for August.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And that's an increase. So the sales are going in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 22% increase, which is great to see. That puts the, sort of run rate at 1.5 billion, assuming that it continues to grow. And I mean, we're still seeing the biggest issue being the access to cannabis in a retail environment. Ontario still doesn't have that many stores. There are licenses in BC here, but not that many that are out there. And I mean, Alberta seems to be leading the way as far as the number of locations that they have per capita.
Right. Okay. So then, what did you make of the Bonafide getting their license back? That was quite the event.
It was. I mean, obviously Ravenquest was asked to come in and step in and help out, and they obviously worked through the process. And after basically having illegal product through their channel and selling it, Health Canada has given them the green light, and away they go. So for all those people that are sort of clinging on to CanTrust, maybe there is some hope there. I was a little bit surprised that this happened as fast as it did, but maybe there's potentially some hope there for CanTrust as well.
Sure. So that was sort of my next question. Does this make CanTrust a buy on speculation that they'll be able to squeak through as well?
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't personally step into CanTrust at this point in time just because the risk just far outweighs. But I mean, if you had a huge appetite for risk and you could afford to say, okay, well, I'm willing to lose all the money I put in there, then yeah, I mean, this could be a lottery ticket, multiple bagger that you could see on the other side if they were to get licensed and, return back to their glory.
Yeah, no kidding. But it is refreshing nonetheless to see that there is a sort of a path to a remedy besides just shutting the company down and taking away the license.
Yeah, for sure. That's right. Because that's what a lot of people just expected is like, sort of once you went that offside with Health Canada, that was it. It would be, game over. But, Bonafide's proved that's not the case.
Right. You were also you had some comments about the packing issue and the 10,000 tons of waste in the cannabis space.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Health Canada has been very concerned about the packaging, how it's packaged, how child-proof the packaging is. But now we've created a whole nother issue, which is the amount of packaging that's being created, 10,000 tons, right? Which it looks like there are some solutions out there. But what will Health Canada look at? Because right now they're not even looking at that, and there's talk that there's 70 grams in some cases of packaging created for a 3.5 gram product. So it seems like it's a little bit overboard, and I think that probably has to get fixed over the next year. Right.
The cannabis industry has been under fire for environmental issues on several fronts lately, with the massive waste of rock wool also sort of figuring prominently in that. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know a ton about it. Obviously, when I've talked to different LPs and been in their facilities, I've always asked, kind of what they do and how they get rid of it. And there really hasn't been anyone that's come up with a great solution. I don't recall where I was, but someone was selling it. And they were actually getting paid by someone to take it. I think that might have been in the States, and they were using it for some type of reusable product. And I mean, that's going to be something that needs to be developed. I think that some of the waste too, as well, on the hemp side, could become an issue. There's so much of this hemp that's going to have to be process in order to get the CBD from such low quality strains, that now you're going to have all this biomass. And I've heard people talking about using it in different methods. So if that's putting it into cars, or if that's using it for building construction materials. So that's going to be something to watch in the future, and it'll also be probably fairly fantastic area for an investor to look at if somebody comes up with a solution for the rock wall or for the hemp.
Yeah, actually, there is a company that I'm going to send you a note on. Their name escapes me right now, but they are producing an alternative to rock wool that is based on charred wood waste. And
nice, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's biodegradable, it's reusable, it has a lower cost per unit of usage, and it has none of the problems of rock wool. So I'll keep you tuned in on that one as I get more information about it. Now, let's talk about Zenabis, because Zenabis has been, suffering the slings and arrows of the cannabis space, but it seems like it's got this cultivation agreement with Tantalus now and is doing a rights offering.
Yeah, there's been a couple of news pieces out this week on them. So first of all, they announced that deal with Tantalus. So it, effectively looks like they're almost subletting some of their space out to Tantalus, who can't build their facility fast enough for the supply that they would like to have. So that was kind of interesting because it basically allows what would be a competitor to come in and use your facilities. But when you're desperate for money, I guess you have to make those type of agreements. And then today on Thursday, they announced that they were doing a rights offering, and it was considerably lower than where the stock is, and the stock was selling off, and it was down, I think it was down like 25% there on Thursday, with the rights being priced at 15 cents with a right and a half. You get, and 15 cents you get another share. So stock probably drops down close to that level.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, so in this current environment, Bruce, are you looking at any new names in the cannabis space?
Well, nothing brand new. I mean, we're certainly going back through our lists and trying to determine exactly who is where as far as cash goes, and who probably won't need to be raising cash, and who will be cash flow positive kind of in the quickest time frame. So we've been high grading our portfolio wherever we can, trying to move out of situations where they might look or need to be raising even in the kind of new year, to companies where they have cash and they have the ability to be cash flow positive in 2020.
You bet. All right, Bruce, that's a great update as usual. That was the StoneCastle Investment Management update of the week. Thanks very much for joining me again.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
You bet. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Make sure you never miss a show by subscribing to our YouTube channel and clicking on the little notifications bell. If you're interested in getting monthly actionable investment ideas in the cannabis space to your inbox, subscribe to the newsletter at MidasLetter.com. Hey everybody, welcome back. So Ed, when was the last time you ate magic mushrooms? Last night?
The same answer I gave yesterday, but a day longer.
Well, you didn't answer the question yesterday.
Oh, maybe I didn't. Okay, so
there you go.
No, we were at I think the best experience I had, we were playing poker in a cabin up north on a lake in the spring, and it was a real laugh.
Yeah. In the spring. Spring of this year?
No, like 30 years ago.
Oh, 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Wait a sec.
And we were playing poker, and I was winning every hand. Maybe that's why I liked it.
There you go.
That'll help.
But it'll be interesting. Colorado's already made psilocybin legal. In Canada, it's legal as long as it's not dried. As far as I know, mind you, I've never had a conversation with a police officer about them.
Isn't it funny that there's a plant that grows that you can't go up to, clip it, and eat it because it's against the law?
Well, actually, there is no such plant. Nope.
What about magic mushroom?
It's legal as long as it's fresh, growing in its native format. You
So
can.
you can go up and eat it.
Yeah.
There's nobody stopping you.
Nobody can stop you.
What about the poison mushrooms? Can you eat those too?
You can eat your fill.
Do you get to keep eating them, or at some point?
Well, you
the
can eat
game's
them
over?
until they killed you.
Then what?
Then you're dead. Then you come back as a squirrel with a bit of luck. I don't know. Why are you asking me these tough questions?
Okay, let's take a look at the S&P.
Oh, okay. Talk about tough questions.
So what do you got planned for the weekend there, young fella?
Well, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to practice my TikTok routine. You know what that is?
No, but I think I'm going to hear more and more about. I think you like it.
If you're happy and you motherfucking know it, clap your motherfucking hands. If you're happy and you motherfucking know it, clap your motherfucking hands. If you're happy and you motherfucking know it, and you motherfucking really want to motherfucking show it, if you're motherfucking happy and you motherfucking know it, clap your motherfucking hands. There
That's
you
your
go.
routine? Is that your routine?
That's my TikTok routine.
Come on.
Except I'm going to be slapping my dog's ass when I do it.
Your dog's ass.
Yeah, my dog likes to be slapped in the ass. Whew. Don't read anything into that more than what I just said. The dog likes to be slapped in the ass.
So we're 5 points away from
5 points away.
all-time closing high on the S&P. 5 points. 5.
5 points away.
And we're talking about a base
Let me
of...
rephrase that for you. We're 5 points away from the all-time closing high on the ultra-fraudulent S&P 500.
Ultra-fraudulent.
Well, tell me this. We live in a system where money has replaced goods and services as the medium of value exchange. Would you agree?
Yes.
And so, if that system is to exist in a truly legitimate format, then the volume of money available for trade should not exceed the total volume of goods and services available. Is that correct?
Yes. I don't know. Wait, look at...
Hey.
Tough questions.
Yeah, well, you know,
Okay.
that's my specialty.
I'm going to put up a chart here. I just want to show this. I'm looking at this. I see it. I got to share it with the viewers. That's the S&P. Look at this.
Yeah.
That's
like it wants
your
to-
trend line, and that's what our buddy down in the Carolinas would say. The
Yeah.
trend. This thing is and there's a level here, but when these two breach, whichever way, and it's looking like higher. God help us all.
God help us all.
Well, whatever.
What do you That's so non-committal.
I think the market is going to go higher in the U.S. And you know what? Today we saw gold up at $1.21, and then rates started ticking up, got over 180 on the yield, and then gold got smashed back to unched on the day. Still
Unched.
well over 1,500.
Yeah.
What's your point?
Well, the point is that as long as the volume of money into the system keeps increasing, then that line on that chart can only go up.
I think that's right.
So
Yeah, I think that's right. That's
It's-
very astute.
that's why I say the
I'm astute,
ultra-fraudulent.
and you're astute.
That's why I call it the ultra-fraudulent S&P, because it exists as a barometer of corporate health when actually it's nothing more or less than the supply of money in the system in the world. So that's why I think you got to look at the S&P and the Dow Jones and all these measures of the amount of money going into the system. They're not an indication of productivity or financial health or corporate well-being. They are nothing more or less than the measure of the money going into the system, and that's why I consider them fraudulent.
You know what? Now that you say it that way.
You're back on my side. I'll buy you that beer afterwards.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
There.
Yeah, okay, so that was the picture on the S&P.
The S&P. We're gonna have
I was going to call you your nickname,
What's my nickname?
Fat Tongue.
Fat,
But I thought it would be too
Fat Tongue.
demeaning, condescending, if you will.
Fat Tongue is not demeaning. There are many other things that I could be called that are far more demeaning. Mind you, as I said, That's that's not
Okay.
very nice to imitate people who act.
You know, you got to be very careful, eh?
I know it's politically incorrect.
Boy, you know, it's hard not to be politically incorrect in this world where there's so many friggin' cameras.
Well, I know, and especially when the standards are so hypocritically. What the hell was that?
What?
So many cameras.
Oh, Jesus.
All right. Where were we?
All
Back
right,
to the
you know what,
show.
you know what?
We're having a financial
This is-
show here. We're not
We're not a dental office.
We're
for
not
God's
on
sakes.
magic mushrooms, for God's sakes.
Hey, I need a teeth. Anybody want to clean my teeth? Or my
try to
tooth?
talk about
or should I say my?
Boy, have you noticed the propensity among middle-aged men to now get their teeth veneered with
Ivory.
with veneers that are so white that it looks like they've got bars of soap for teeth?
You know, sometimes when it gets too white, it almost looks like a sort of a blue.
It makes you want to just go up and kick them as hard as you can.
Ooh.
Take that to the curb with your face.
Oh.
Anyways, let's take a look at these charts again, just because I'm not depressed enough going into the weekend. Red, she wore a red dress. She wore a red dress.
How about red wine? This would be a good
Red,
song for this
red
episode.
wine.
Part of the show, we start with red wine because it would go.
We tried that before. It ended up in a shitty show. Remember? Because we got so drunk.
I thought it was hilarious, and we
so
had
did I. Until I
And-
watched it later.
But we can't even do it again.
No, we can't do it in the old. No.
That's and which always should sober us to the realization that this is
Temporary.
a finality.
This is it.
Yeah. This is going to end.
This is as high in the food chain as we go.
I can't. It can't be better than this. Can't be.
It can't be worse.
How can it be better? Are you hungry right now?
Kind of.
You thirsty?
A little, actually. I could actually.
Horny?
Oh, definitely. I could go for a bottle of beer right now. I've got a craving for a beer.
Well-
you know, I haven't had a beer since I've stepped off the wagon. I've only been drinking wine. This is my problem. I need that beer fix before I can get back on the wagon.
Well,
It's a good thing
maybe tonight.
maybe actually I have to go. I'm going to do Todd Shapiro's radio show after this.
Oh, good for you.
Sirius XM,
I'm
channel
glad.
167 on Sirius XM on Canada Talks
Are
Network.
you thinking of jumping ship?
Jumping ship? No, but we're thinking of doing some different things together. We're talking about doing the psychedelic hour, for example.
Yeah.
Was
So you
Todd's
do some
idea.
mushrooms?
I kind of would shudder to think what it would be like to try and do a show while on mushrooms. Because there's one thing for sure, the effect of psilocybin is to quite often take you into another realm where you might not be seeing all the same things that everybody else is seeing.
Really?
Yeah, and so to do that on
give
a
me
show.
Give me an example.
Give you an example. Well, the most common effect that I am somewhat familiar with
Yeah.
is the sensation that when they're working, you get these you see little lights going off here and there, everywhere in the background and in the foreground, and it's like, and they're just hallucinations. They're not
Yeah,
really there,
yeah.
but they're highly amusing, and so many times you have the appearance of somebody who's laughing at absolutely nothing while you're merely laughing at that which does not exist. Which
But
is
they're
not the
laughing
same.
at something they think exists.
Who?
Them.
At you?
Who, me?
No, me.
Yes, you. Couldn't be.
Then
Number
who?
two? Number two.
boy.
How about number two?
Number two?
Yeah. Oh.
We're gonna have to
We're
slide
gonna have to
through
slit my throat after this
We're
show.
gonna have to slide down the confusion pole soon.
The confusion pole.
Yeah.
I'm a pole.
You're the confusion pole. Though I can't
You know
imagine
what?
sliding
You
down
know what?
that would just
There'll be
be,
no sliding down the
that would be, oh boy, that's, yeah, you're a little bit too old for me. Can I say it like that?
Well,
Although I hear that you got away with the youngsters. Okay, let's change
No,
the
you know
topic.
what? You know what?
Let's go back to a
Let's not
financial
go
show.
there
Okay.
anymore. I'm
Why?
going there after.
I heard there was going to be a tornado in London
I
tonight.
hope so. A white tornado.
Tornado.
Remember when Mr. Clean used to come out with the white tornado?
Mr. Clean?
A white tornado. Oh, there's a tornado outside. Jesus, batten down the hatches.
Mr. Clean.
Ship your pants. You want?
I can't
Hey,
wait to
you know what I
ship my
did yesterday?
pants.
I shipped my pants.
Did you? My mom wants to ship her nightie. So how about Trump is thinking of selling his hotel in Washington?
To who? The Democrats.
Well, I think
He probably get away with it. And then when they're sitting there holding it, they're going to go, why did we do that?
you know what? The Democrats will buy it and they'll take out all of the toilets and just put holes in the floor with stirrups on either side.
You have to admit, if you were a Dem in the U.S. right now, it doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good. Like,
What, the fact that Trump's the CEO?
well, like, I
Or
mean,
the outlook for the Democrats.
Take Bill Maher, for instance. He's just a staunch liberal.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to pick sides. I'm just saying it drives you nuts, when your team is getting
What?
beat up like a farm animal. Like, you know what I mean?
Do you
Like,
think that the Republicans are getting beat up, or the Democrats are getting beat up like a
well,
farmer?
only in the sense of, economically, Trump's accomplished what he set out to accomplish: make more money for people. Just saying. I'm not agreeing with it. I'm not saying I like the guy. I'm
Wait a
just
sec. Make more money for which people?
The average person's, apparently, their average person's household income's up $6,000 per person on average, and no one does this. And that's mainstream America.
Boy, that's a.
I didn't make this. I'm not saying it.
Well, that's a very funny way. That's a very suspicious statistic. Because if you look at average household income, it's like saying, well,
I
we're
know.
rich because of the revenue. Well, the revenue doesn't mean you made money. And having more household income does not necessarily mean you kept more money.
It doesn't mean you're happier.
Well, that's neither here nor there in the discussion of money anyways.
But the one gentleman that I watched, he said, but people pay it. The biggest thing for voters is, how do I feel? Do I feel a little better?
well, that's different.
Well, that's usually tied, in this crazy world where they can't print enough money, and they can't. They're printing it with impunity. You know this.
Oh, yeah.
So you print up some money. I've been sort of down and out in Beverly Hills here the last few days. It's because I'm running out of money. Same old shit, right?
Really?
And it doesn't make you any happier. You just think it makes you happier.
Well, have you been poor for an extended period of time before?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
No.
It's the worst.
It makes you unhappy.
You think you don't care, but you really do.
You can't help but care.
I know.
When you're starving,
Well,
actually,
starving it, you never starve, for God's sakes. I
not
mean,
in Canada.
no, it's pretty good. And you got
Ethiopia.
free health care.
Free healthcare.
And you probably get pills for free.
And there's lots of places to shoplift from, which, that's pretty much how a lot of people stay fed.
But it's expensive to live here now. It's really...
Oh. Well, tell me about it. But so do you think that just to swing back to the
Okay.
opening theme here, which was Trump's selling the hotel. Do you think that Trump is selling the hotel because he's trying to eliminate anything that might point to further conflicts of interest?
I didn't even know he was selling a hotel. I don't know. You know what?
It's the front page news, Ed.
I wish I had a hotel I could sell.
Do you?
I'd sell it right now.
Would you?
To you.
Well, what makes you think I can afford a hotel right now? If I had a hotel right now, it would be up for sale as well.
There you go. I think a lot of people are feeling that.
Really?
Yeah,
Especially in the cannabis industry?
Well, I think, okay, I got a chart up here, ladies and gentlemen. I want to, okay, what is that?
Finally, we get to
Here
a
we
chart.
go. Here we go. So what is this? This is the 10-year yield in the U.S., and I want to point out to everyone that, look at this, that low did not get below the previous low, which was 2 or 3 years ago, And here we had another try, and that's a little higher. And now we've got this thing happening here. And rates today are 180, and it doesn't sound like a lot. You say, oh, big deal, 180. Guess what? Every time they tick up, there's such an enormous amount of debt that is being serviced. It really would be the dagger, I think. You know, the nail in the coffin. If rates started to go up unexplainably, like what would that would mean the Fed has lost control. And I think that's what's, I have a funny feeling it's about to happen. Because I don't think anybody's, well, somebody's expecting it.
Well, so if the short-term the 10-year rate goes up uncontrollably, doesn't the Fed just lower the long-term rate?
Well, the long-term rate is determined by buyers and sellers of those securities. So for this rate to go up, that means this security is being sold. People are selling 10-year bonds. Dropping the price, yield goes up. And they can't control that. They can control short-term rates.
So would you categorize the rise in shorter term rates, 10-year bond, is that an indication
No, that's not a short-term rate. That's a 10-year rate is sort of the long-term rate now.
Really?
They don't even look at 30-year rates. Short-term rate is the day-to-day rate.
Do you know that, is it Germany who started issuing the 100-year bond?
Yeah, maybe.
No, that's a long-term bond. 10 years in that context does not strike me as a long-term.
Well, look. They say that for 99.9% of our existence as life existed, it's all been microbes. Bacteria.
Microbes? Like little short rubs.
Oh, I had a great workout. Not a workout.
Workout?
Massage.
Sounds like it.
Massage. Well, workout.
You massage yourself? Or did you have somebody do it for you?
Well, do I massage myself? Occasionally, but not yesterday, not
No, you had
everybody massages themselves, for God's sake.
I don't.
Well,
Unless, a massage technically is not what I would call it.
no.
But, oh, look, we've run over the show by like 2 minutes.
Well,
Should we keep blabbing? Put up your hand out there if you want us to keep going. Okay, tell you what. There's our show for the day, the hour, the week, but we'll be back next week. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to.